reform effort has halted under the Obama administration for reasons best known to them, perhaps because they feel that it would be detrimental to the U.S. effort and engagement at the UN to press the idea that there could be improvements in the organization. I think that's a big mistake. I think it's something that really looks at the UN through the wrong prism, and I think that it will be borne out over time that, in fact, the failure to press reform actually undercuts the effectiveness of the organization over time. Because I think it is through continuing to ask for responsive behavior and real accomplishments by the UN's components that we do make the UN more effective. It's a measurement not of inputs we should be looking for, but outputs from the UN. And I think just in the past few weeks we've seen indications about how reform has failed at the political level as well. In the Human Rights Council that Susan mentioned, you'll recall in 2006 the United States voted against the creation of the new Human Rights Council on the grounds that the body as set up by the General Assembly would be no better than and possibly worse than its predecessor, the then existing Human Rights Commission. And in fact, I think that's been borne out. We've seen in the Goldstone report adopted or endorsed by an overwhelming plurality of votes in the Human Rights Council, 25-6 of those voting out of 47 members, that this report, which fundamentally undercuts the legitimate right of national self-defense, continues to live in the UN system, and I think so far from advancing the peace process in the Middle East is actually undercutting it.
I don't need to tell you about the lofty principles outlined in the UN Charter. I don't need to tell you how the UN was set up to try and address threats to international peace and security, how it was set up to advance human rights and fundamental freedoms, how it was set up to try and improve social standards and prosperity around the world. I don't need to tell you about how far short of that standard the United Nations has fallen and how far short many of the member states have fallen from the standards outlined in the Charter. I don't need to tell you about the UN's lack of oversight, its lack of transparency, lack of accountability. I don't need to tell you about the scandals that have happened at the organization. A lot of you have revealed to the world those scandals yourselves, or your colleagues have done so, and you've done your part in trying to promote those. Instead, what I want to talk to you about is why continuing under the current process, under the current situation in the United Nations, is something that really should concern us all. An unreformed UN is something that is vitally important to everybody in this room and a number of people around the world.